The other advantage that I brought to the team was being a senior developer, but also having a lot of commercial experience. I didn't have a problem turning around and saying no. So a request would come in, and I just turn around and say, "No, we're not doing that yet. We've got these things to work on. You'll have to wait."
Yeah,
Whereas when you're quite new to your career, quite often you feel it feels awkward turning around and saying, "No, I can't do that."
Yeah.
You don't want to, because you feel, "Oh, they're going to think less of me if I turn around and say I can't do that."
Yeah.
Whereas, particularly with the project implementation, project management work I've done, people would rather understand that it isn't going to get done and understand the reason why, so they can actually plan themselves and they can make contingencies. And it's always good to go back to, this is something I found and something that's stood me in good stead in all of my career. If you go back to someone and you're going to say no, go back to them with some options. So don't just say, "Oh, we can't do it." You turn around and say, "Well, we can't do it because we got to do these. So you're going to have to make a decision on what's important." Or, "Look, we can't do this, but what we can do is we can do this to mitigate it until we get a chance to do this."
Sure.
So always go back with some options or with some form of dialogue to actually discuss and come up with a consensus as to how you move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I find this with the freelance stuff, because a lot of people want like the moon on the stick, right? So they'll go, "Oh, I want something that is like super amazing, but I've only got a really small budget." So then what I try and do is sort of map what they really want, but in a sort of a cheaper option, and then sort of lay out a couple of options for them to sort of look at. And then perhaps the super car, the model, the really fast car that they want, we can get there later on, but we can go several steps forward before we get to that point. And half the time, it's like a lot of the requests could actually be scaled down to make my life a little lighter, and also just understanding the client's needs is so important, because they might not be telling you something that is super important because they perhaps don't assume that that's relevant right now. So it's like, what do you want this to do in the next sort of 3 months, because that's going to change my mindset as to how I'm going to develop this now, because I don't want to be coding something and then scrap it 3 months later because you're actually wanting to do something slightly differently. It's the difference between having a gasoline car or an electric car. You want a car, but how do you, what engine do you want?
Yeah, it does make a bit of a difference when particularly if you put an engine in and they say, "Well, here's the batteries for it." Hang on.
Yeah, hang on a minute.
So,
Oh, didn't you know it was supposed to be electric? No, you didn't tell me that. Yeah.
Well, this was the second phase and the second evolution that the team actually went through. So we got to a point where we had Kanban up and running, and we were starting to prioritize, and things were starting to go a lot better. So at this point, we had an additional developer come on board as well, and we started to have weekly meetings with the other teams, because we were dealing with, there was a Polish team, there was a Greece team, there was a team in America we were dealing with, and one in Ukraine, possibly, I think it may have been. So we had lots of teams around the place where we were having to interface with them. We were basically doing the user portal for this this product, but we had the transaction team. There was another back end team. They were the project management was being run out of Greece, so it's quite a distributed team. So we then took things forward to the next step, and we actually introduced Scrum as our methodology for working. So we already had the Scrum board because we had a Kanban board. Brilliant. That's an easy iteration to do. We started doing the backlog grooming. We started to do the other ceremonies, daily stand-ups. We used to have do the sprint demos, put sprints in place, and then we started to to run the project forward like that. And it got to the point where we started to, whereas originally we were, that team never managed to get anything done. We're actually being, started to be held up as an example of how things should be and how things can actually work. So we've managed to turn the team and around from it being, a laughing stock is a bit harsh, but that sort of thing, to being wow, these guys actually can, they're organized. Stuff is done as quickly as I might want, but then I'm a project manager and I want it yesterday anyway. However, they do get stuff done and they actually deliver what they're going to deliver.
So that must have brought up the morale of the team as well. Not only
definitely.
the developers, but also the people who are relying on those developers because they can actually see that work is, like you said, is getting done. And you mentioned something that I think is just a fantastic point, and that was the evolution of the team, because a team evolves with the methodology and the technology that you put in place, and it certainly does just change the whole dynamic of a team.